Welcome to TWOOAK Podcast, where we talk all things faith, family, and farming. We're your hosts. I'm Jackie.
And I'm John.
And today we're going to be talking all about chickens. This is a topic that really excites me, not just because we just got chickens, but this kind of marks the first step of really being a real homestead, I feel.
Yeah, and it's an exciting step that we have taken.
Yeah, and we are lucky that in this city we can have any chickens at all, which we will talk more about later, how you can find out if your city allows chickens, and if not, there are some other alternatives that can kind of get you into livestock and stuff like that, even if you can't have chickens, because there are some pretty strict rules in some cities about it.
Yeah.
So first, let's talk about the experience of us actually getting the chickens, because this has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
We've been preparing for these for 5 or 6 months now. We ordered them back in November. I went on the Murray McMurray Hatchery website, and I really deep dove into the different breeds and really utilized their tools for filtering out specific traits that birds have, from how great of layers they are, to their cold hardiness, to all different kinds of things. And so I picked the breeds out very intentionally, because I knew that we needed breeds that were going to be good in a backyard situation, good for the cold weather, since we live in Ohio and it gets pretty cold here. And I wanted, of course, because we could only have 6 chickens, I wanted chickens that were going to lay a lot of eggs, that were, high in the production in that category. But you want to talk about what happened a week ago?
Yeah, so we had got an email from Murray McMurray stating that part of their flocks have been infected by the avian influenza,
Which has been really running rampant this year.
Yeah, and it's from migratory birds, and they had to wipe out a lot of their flocks.
Right. Everything in that barn that got infected, that tested positive, even if those birds didn't test positive, if they were in contact with those birds or anywhere in the vicinity, they had to get rid of them.
Yeah.
So they didn't infect the rest of their flocks. But I think they ended up probably getting rid of maybe 1,500 birds, which is devastating for them, but also it's devastating for us too, because we've been waiting for these all winter long, and by this point in April, everybody's pretty much had chance to order. A lot of people order their chickens in January or February, and so we were kind of working with the leftovers at this point.
Yeah, because unfortunately for us, half of our order wasn't going to be able to ship because those breeds were affected.
Right. We were planning on getting the Golden Lace Wyandotte, 2 Blue Cochins, an Americana, a Barred Rock,
and Australorp.
And an Australorp. And the Wyandottes and the Blue Cochins were both affected by that. So we had to very quickly find a new hatchery, which this one ended up being just an hour away.
Yep.
Meyer Hatchery in Polk, Ohio. So we got on the website and we
looked up and did our research again.
Yeah, we just kind of filtered through what they still had available, because it's we had everything set up in the hallway for them. We were ready to go, and I didn't want to wait any longer.
No, I didn't want to wait any longer, or even another year.
Right. So we went with, luckily we did still get 2 of the Golden Lace Wyandottes. They did have those available. And then we got 2 Easter Eggers and 2 Green Queens, which I think is a pretty good batch. I'm pretty happy with the chickens that we got.
Yeah, and with the attitudes and personalities that they already have after only a few days, is astounding.
Yeah, we have one that we have named Karen, so I'm sure you can all imagine what kind of attitude she already has.
Yeah.
But if you guys are looking into getting chicks, a way that you can know if you can even have them in your city is by Google searching the requirements or the laws in your area. It should take you to your city's website, and you should be able to have the whole code of ordinances is what you want to be looking for. And in our case, we can have 6 of any birds, whether that be quail, chickens, turkeys, peacocks, whatever.
Anything like that.
Which I think is a bit ridiculous because peacocks are not the same as quail.
No.
You know, like if you have 6 peacocks and 6 quail, that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think that law is absolutely ridiculous, but I am super thankful that we can have any chickens anyways. So we can have 6, and so that's what we got.
Yep. And of course, we could only have 6, but the minimum requirement for purchasing is an order of 6.
Right.
Which worked out well for us.
Yeah. So once you know if your city can have chickens or not, really the next step is just finding whatever hatchery you want to go with, whether that's Tractor Supply or some other farm store near you, or if you want to go with an actual hatchery, or I'm sure you could even find somebody who lives out in the country that's brooding their own eggs. So there's lots of different avenues. You can probably even look on Craigslist. People are getting rid of chickens, but with that you have to be careful. You don't know what kind of diseases they have. You don't know how old they are. Why are they getting rid of them? It could be a mixed bag. But you also want to make sure to keep in mind that even if you can have chickens, you want to make sure that you know if you can have roosters or not. Because we can't have roosters. Most cities do not allow roosters. You probably can't have roosters in a lot of areas unless you live in the country.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to, perpetuate breeding of chickens, and roosters are loud and can be very mean. So you want to be careful that you don't go and order straight run. That means they're unsexed, which means you are probably going to get about 50-50.
Yeah.
So it was important to us that we were able to pick breeds that they offered sexed chickens, so we knew we were getting females.
Yeah. And also just make sure that you do all your research on which breeds would fit your situation.
Right, because the chickens that have the large combs or the beards don't always do well in, super cold climates because they are more prone to getting frostbite on those. And you want to keep in mind what your situation is, how much area you have. Are you going to free range them? Are you going to keep them in just like a run? That's what we're doing. We are building a run for them.
Off the side of our garage, and then a little coop inside the garage.
Right, so you want to keep in mind what situation you're putting these birds into, because certain ones do better free ranging, and then if you get like the silkies, they have a lot of feathers covering their eyes, so they do not do well in free range situations. So there is a chicken for most everybody's needs.
Yep, there are a ton of breeds out there. I was surprised on how many breeds there really are.
Right.
Like, you only hear about or just know about the basic ones that you just see at, your Tractor Supply or anything like that. But when going into this and realizing how many different breeds there are and how pretty some of them are, and, just the fact that they can lay different colored eggs, that was surprising for me.
Yeah, and especially people are getting really creative these days with breeding chickens specifically for super cool colored eggs and everything. One good thing that did come out of us not getting the original 6 chickens that we ordered is that was pretty much all brown eggs, and now with the Easter eggers and the green queens, we're going to have a beautiful batch of colors when it comes to eggs.
No white eggs.
Yeah, no white eggs. So I have some questions. You have some questions. Yep. So, as someone who grew up in the city, did you ever see yourself having any kind of livestock?
As far as livestock goes, when I was little, that wasn't too much on my mind. All I know is that when I was little, I told my sisters that I wanted to be a farmer. I don't know why, but that was just something that, one of those dreams that you dream as a kid, and, that's something that kind of came back into play more recently when we're, starting Homestead.
Yeah.
Now, livestock and farm animals, I didn't see myself having any, but because I didn't have a definite picture on what I wanted to do, but
it was somewhere in the back.
Yeah, it was just associated with the whole dream.
Right. So when we first started talking about chickens last year, did it take you a while to get on board, or were you just absolutely yes, let's do this?
I was pretty much on board right away. I mean, I had to, kind of just think through, okay, like, how are we going to do this? And, what do we need? And kind of knowing the logistics behind getting them and raising them and the purpose of them.
Right.
Don't get them just to have them. We wanted that purpose.
Right, having fresh eggs is going to be a huge game changer just because, you are being more just responsible for where your food is coming from. Also, eggs that what you're putting in your chickens are better for you. Yeah. Your chickens are living a better life. I'm going to be ordering some microgreens. Our chickens are going to be pretty spoiled. Yeah. I want to constantly, on the regular, supplement their food with microgreens so they have a lot of nutrients. And I don't know, I just want our chickens to live their best life.
Yeah, and healthy. And, you have a more controlled environment that you can know exactly what's going into your chickens, which then is what going into your eggs. And also just the cost, everybody says chickens are so like hard, high maintenance and everything, but in our case it's pretty much the exact opposite. And there might be a lot of startup costs and whatever, but in the long run I can see this paying off, especially with our eggs and anything like that. And then extra eggs that we don't eat, given to family.
Right. Yeah, because I know my mom was saying, like, my dad goes through a lot of eggs. He really likes eggs. So my mom was talking about she'll just buy them from us now because she would have bought them at the store anyways. So that will help offset, feed costs and everything. And even it's not just about the money either. When someone talks about, it's like, oh, is it worth it? You shouldn't just look at money. You should look at what else is it, how else is it benefiting you? Because I'm having a great time playing with the chickens.
Yeah, I am too.
And they will also be really good for pest control. We have a horrible spider population. Living by the lake is fantastic, but the spiders are unlike anything else. They are
get
just
bigger and
juicy. The juicy spider.
And then there's just so many of them.
At night,
you kill one and then 10 more show up.
Right, at night, if we don't stay on top of it, all the siding of our house just gets covered every night with spiders.
Or every morning I go out to my truck and there's a spider web either on the side mirrors. Sometimes I've seen them inside my truck.
Oh, right. Like let's see, we had one nice day. One day that was like 60, 70 degrees, and immediately there was already a spider web on
both of our vehicles.
The mirrors on our car. It's like, seriously, one nice day and you guys are already...
Yeah.
Oh,
they're
man.
coming out.
I hope that the chickens really help with that. We're also trying to keep our bird feeders stocked, so hopefully the wild birds also take care of that situation. But even just any of the bugs that they find in the grass, I hope they help with that situation. And also, they are great garbage cans. You know, any of our kitchen scraps or garden scraps. I don't know if a true homesteader or gardener can really function that great without chickens. Or without some kind of animal that you can just, continue the cycle of, your food, your plants are growing and giving you food, but then you have all this waste that then you give to your animals to eat it, turn it into whatever they're, getting, like chickens are turning it into eggs, or if you have meat chickens, you'll be turning it into meat, and then you have the manure and the compost that then feeds your garden again, and it just is one step closer to closing that cycle.
Yeah, or even animals, I believe, like pigs.
Pigs, those are a little bit harder to keep inside city limits.
But if you have that land and you have that kind of life, that's just another animal that can help contribute to keeping that cycle closed.
Right, and that should be the goal of anybody who wants to try and live sustainably, because really what's on your land shouldn't ever really need to leave your land. No. And your land should be able to take care of you, and you take care of the land, and it all works like it's intended to. I've gone through many periods in my life where I could see myself happy inside, like a big city. I could see myself happy in, amongst 1,000 acres. And I've just kind of one of those people who I'll make the most of whatever situation I'm in. But really, since I've been out of high school, I've been on this path to homesteading. And so I'd say for the past several years, probably since 2017, 2018, I've really been, working towards that goal of having chickens, or for a while I was considering meat rabbits and just making a garden. And so this whole idea really manifested probably 4 or 5 years ago. So I can't say that I've always wanted chickens. My siblings grew up with chickens, but I did not. I grew up in a regular suburban neighborhood. We had one dog, a rabbit sometimes, the occasional small animal, guinea pig, whatever. But no, I'd say that since I've been an adult, yes, chickens have been on my trajectory in one way or another. So what would you say, do you think it's better to just jump in and buy them like we ended up having to do? Or do you think it's better how we were going to do it and give yourself lots of time to research and plan?
It's probably better to try to plan it out, or at least in our case, we plan to get chickens. I mean, it might not have worked out that we got the chickens we wanted, but we were still preparing to have them. So, we were getting the space ready, getting all the materials that we needed, the box and the food and the lamp, and, and then building anything we need outside and designating space for them. But when it comes to actually ordering chickens, that's kind of where you kind of got to weigh the risk, because the avian flu is a big problem, and along with other things. But go and, pre-order and, hope for the best. But, I mean, things can't always be controlled.
I'm going to take the opposite stance on that, and I am a big advocate of just jumping in to do things because, kind of in our household, the motto is someday doesn't come. Yeah. We don't really allow ourselves to, think about, use the terminology really like, oh, someday, or we'll get to it eventually. Like, we don't like that kind of phrasing here because it doesn't come. And so a lot of people will say, oh, someday I'd like to have chickens, or, oh, that sounds like something I'll get to eventually, or eventually I'll be in the right situation to do that. And I think it's just best to just go ahead and do it. Now, don't be reckless with things, but if you want chickens, figure out how to make it happen. I am totally the type of person that if I want something, I start researching it and I do it. I jump right in. That could be, good for some people, bad for some people. But I find that if I think about things for too long, like this whole winter with preparing to get chickens, it has given me way too much time to overthink things. I was, getting in my own head and saying, oh my gosh, these are going to be so difficult. I'm going to kill them. Like, I am not going to be able to take care of them. But I have taken care of so many animals just since I've been an adult. I've had, dogs and cats and reptiles and fish and all these different animals. I know how to take care of animals. But for some reason in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how to take care of a farm animal. Yeah. Farm animals are going to be so difficult. I am, like, for me, I know farm animals are supposed to be, like, tougher than, say, some of your other animals. But I was like, I'm going to kill them. They are just going to be so fragile. I think it was the thing of getting day-old baby chicks that I was like, I am going to kill them. There's no way that I'm going to be able to know how to take care. Like, what if I forget to feed them? What if I forget? You get in your head. Yeah. And it's a bit ridiculous. And so for me, if I give myself time to think, that is where my head will go. It would have been better for me to just say, we're going to get chickens, and then go and get chickens. Like with Nestle, with our dog. Yeah. We started talking about getting another dog once we had our backyard fenced in. Yeah. And, we were going to do this, like, logically. And
then I get a call while I'm at work one day.
I bought a dog.
Or was it a call or a picture?
I don't even remember because
I know you sent me a picture of her.
We just saw this Facebook message of these really adorable dogs, and we were considering getting this dog, but then one thing after another fell through. But at that point, I had my heart set on getting another dog.
Yeah.
And so I was looking on a local shelters, like, what is it? The APL? The APL.
Animal Protection League.
Yeah, I went and I was looking on their website, and they had this adorable little pit bull mix puppy available. And if you guys have ever bought or adopted puppies, it's hard to come by puppies. They get snatched up really fast. And so in that instance, I drove to the place.
With your mom or no?
No. I got in the car. I was like, my mom is coming in like an hour and a half. I've got to do this real quick. I walked in. I was like, I am here to see this dog. They put me in a room with this dog, with this tiny little puppy that was 8 weeks old. And she was so adorable. I picked her up. I walked out. I was like, I'm going to take her. And they're like, all right, $250. I'm like, oh boy. So we put it on the credit card. Was that the smartest idea?
Probably not.
I don't even know technically if we have her paid off yet.
I mean, we put money towards the card, so like.
But what money?
Enough money.
Yeah, but I came home with that dog. I literally drove holding her.
Yeah.
She was so good. Not anymore. I got her home, and my mom pulled in the driveway because she was helping me get ready for the garage sale that we had, the next day. And she was like, where did you get this dog? So I am definitely somebody who jumps in head first to things and figures it out as I go.
And, with that, that works for us, even with buying this house, like we weren't we thought about getting a house before we were married, and I was looking, and then all of a sudden we just started looking, and then a month later settled on this house, but a lot of things we just kind of just jump in and figure it out, and that's the best way for us to learn.
Right.
Kind of just forcing us to jump in there. Now everybody is not going to have that easy of a time, and some people want that planned out method, but I mean I don't regret any of our decisions, with whether with the house, the chickens, the dog, anything like that.
I think that most people, if they really thought hard about what they actually regret in their life, it's what they didn't do. It's not what they did do. I honestly can say I don't think I have a single regret in my life. And I don't think a lot of people can say that, but I'm somebody who, if I want to do it, I do it, and I just figure it out along the way. I try my hardest not to get stuck with analysis paralysis, which is totally a real thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just see the value even in the bad situations. I see the lessons that they teach, and yeah, if you want to go ahead and do something, if you want to get chickens because they are fantastic. We've only had them since Monday. Today is Thursday.
Yeah.
But I can already see their little personalities forming. There's this one, her name's Susie, because of tiramisu. I was like, Susan, but Susan's not a cute chicken name.
No.
So we named her Susie, and every time I walk past the box, she kind of looks up at me and hi, how you doing? It's like she already is bonding with me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Chickens have been so fun, especially around this time of year because we're coming up on Easter. Easter's on Sunday. And today, after we get done filming this podcast, we're going to do a cute little photo shoot so we can finally post some awesome pictures on social media. So if you don't already follow us on Instagram, here's a shameless plug for it. Everything, all of our stuff is under the Wandering Oak. So you can go check that out to see all the cute little chicken pictures. And yeah, I want to talk about what you actually need for chickens, though. Actually getting started. We're talking the day you bring your chickens home. because when you start researching, you're going to find a lot of different things.
Yeah, a lot of different options and perspectives.
Right, and all of the Instagram influencer, YouTube type people make it seem like you need a lot of different stuff. It costs a lot of money, all of these different gadgets and gizmos and whatever. Like, when we were researching the bare minimum of what you needed to keep chickens inside, we were coming up with, okay, $50 for this little pop-up tent and $80 for a heat plate and all of these different things. And luckily for us, my parents used to have chickens, and they had chickens when they were broke. Yeah. So they kind of had the little bit of the hillbilly method of how to raise chickens. You just make it work. And so what we have, our setup is just a box you got from work.
Yeah, cardboard box that's approximately 24 by 40, and like a foot and a half or 2 feet deep. It was just a utility tub box that, from work I just asked her, I'm like, could we use this for the chickens?
And that it's the perfect size, honestly. It fits right in the spot that we have. And even if you don't have a box that big, you can even tape 2 boxes together and cut out the middle section. Yeah. You could make a little box for them. My parents have been saving their newspapers, so we lay the newspapers down. We just got a block of pine shavings from Tractor Supply. Yeah. We have a food dish and a water dish, and then we have a good old-fashioned heat lamp and bulb. And I know there are strong opinions about heat lamps because they've been known to cause a lot of fires. But one thing that I want to mention is that if it doesn't fall, it's not a fire hazard.
Yeah, and we have ours suspended from a chain from the ceiling
with the same hooks that we use for all of our plants. So I feel very, comfortable knowing that they can hold a plant. They can hold a light bulb.
They can hold a lot of weight because we use those on everything in the house, and nothing is falling.
We're even using it to hang a ladder from the ceiling for our dining room chandelier. So I have no worries about that falling. And you don't even have to use a heat bulb with it. We were trying to find just a regular halogen or incandescent light bulb, not the LED ones, because the LED ones don't emit heat, but it's impossible to find those anymore.
Yeah, we went to the hardware store, and every single light bulb they had in the entire light bulb section was LED.
And I get that. Most of the time, LED is great. It's energy efficient. It doesn't get hot, but in this situation, we needed something that got hot.
Yeah.
So we ended up going, and we actually went to the pet store to look at reptile bulbs, because those are actually, we were looking at ceramic heaters because I have a lot of background with reptiles, and I never had a problem with any of their heat bulbs exploding or catching fire or anything, so I felt very confident. But back when I used to buy them, they were $9 a piece, maybe $13 for a 2-pack. We went and everything was above $40.
Yeah, 40, 50, 60, and we're like,
outrageous.
Why?
I don't know when it changed, but that was absurd. So we ended up going to our local Rural King and purchased an actual chicken heat lamp bulb
the red,
for $5.
Infrared bulb.
Right. So it's working out just fine.
Yeah, they don't seem to mind.
And I mentioned this in the YouTube video that I posted of me bringing the chickens home. It can be very dangerous to use the light bulbs if you're not monitoring them in the beginning to know how high to hang them. So because people have been known to cook their chickens and kill them, and that would be so horrible. And you want to hang them in we have ours in the back corner. That way there's a nice heat gradient. Yeah. So they can get away from the heat if they want to. We keep their food and their water out, on the very opposite side of the box. And most of the time the chickens are kind of right on the edges of the light, but they do have room to go in and get warmer, and they do hang out there a little bit. Yeah. But what we did, and I think it was a pretty good solution, is that we figured, okay, well, we're 98 degrees and chickens want it to be about 100 degrees. So we put our hand, before we even got the chickens, we put our hand down on the floor of the box right underneath the heat lamp, and we figured you want to just barely feel it.
Yeah, barely feel any heat.
Right. So that's what we did, and it worked out great. We haven't had to adjust the heat lamp, but the chickens will tell you if they need it moved, because if they're huddling together and trying to stay warm, they're too cold and you need to move it down. And if they're staying away from it completely, then raise it up. It's too high or too hot. So just make it a little higher so it's not as direct of a heat source.
Yeah.
So.
And when I was reading about them before we bought them, I was just trying to read in some of the things that they like. It's pertaining to heat lamps. Is that the older, up to a certain weeks, like every increment that they had on there, the temperature was going down. So the older they get, the higher you can raise it, because they're getting bigger. They have more
feathers too.
Feathers and just meat on their bones to keep them warm.
And preparing them for
being
the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something we'll be doing as they start growing up.
And with all this talk about what you actually need for chickens, I want to encourage you, even if you are broke, much like us, that you don't need a lot of money to get chickens.
No.
You can go to Tractor Supply and pick out chicks for a few bucks. I've seen videos of a guy that got 90 chickens for $20. A way that you can get good deals is if you find out what day your local farm store receives their chicks, go the day before, because they need to get rid of those, because you don't want to mix sizes of chicks. The bigger ones will not take well to the smaller ones, because the bigger ones will eat more food and just keep the smaller ones from getting the adequate resources that they need. So that's a really good way that you can just get, if you're not in the market for any specific breed and you just want chicks
and you don't have a restriction on numbers, you can just go and be like him, it's like,
he's like, I'll take all of them, $20, and the person was like, sold.
He thought he was only getting what,
20 or something.
20 or so.
Yeah.
And they misunderstood, and they just gave them the rest of them.
But hey, 20 chicks, or $20 for 90 chicks, that is a steal of a deal.
Yeah, considering one chick could be $4 or $5.
Right, but we got some of the fancier breeds, and we only paid $32 for the 6 of them.
Yeah.
So it's really not that expensive. If you've got your box, that could be free. If you've got newspaper, that could be free. Ask your neighbors, your family. They could save newspapers and flyer ads for you. The chickens love pecking at them.
Yeah.
Pine shavings. You don't necessarily need to do pine shavings if you don't want to. My mom said that they didn't do pine shavings, but it does help with the smell. It helps to absorb the barnyard smell.
Yeah, and when we got it at Tractor Supply, it was a big block, not super heavy, but it was maybe $5.
Yeah, and that will last us a while.
It will last us the entire time they're going to be inside, and then some.
And then you need chicken food. You want to get the stuff that's specifically for chicks.
Yeah.
And then after, I think it's maybe 2 weeks, they need to start with the grit. Grit is tiny little stones that helps them. They hold it in their little throat pouches and helps them, churn the food. It kind of acts as their teeth. So they start needing that at about 2 weeks. I think the bag said, there's a chart on the back of the bag. And they need something for water. And we got the little food dish and the water dish for probably less than $10 for both of them combined. And the heat lamp and bulb probably wasn't much more than that either.
No, they probably combined less than $20.
You can get really creative with how you can afford chicks, but it's really, it's not, you don't need all the bells and whistles. You can, of course, get the automated chicken doors, which I really want.
Yeah.
Those are investments. Those are things that you can get down the line. Those are things that you can ask for Christmas. Those are not things that you need to start.
No.
And I want to talk a little bit about if you can't have chickens. Another option is quail. I was looking into quail because I would like to have chickens and quail. However, because our city regulates all birds and they put them under one category, we can't because we already have 6 chickens. But quail is a really great option because a lot of cities don't even regulate them. They are super quiet. They really require almost no space at all. You either have to keep their coops below 2 feet or higher than 6 feet so they don't fly and jump or they don't hurt themselves. But quail, you can raise them for meat. You can raise them for tiny little eggs. And if you do, get a decent sized operation, you can even sell the eggs and the meat because they are a delicacy and restaurants and bakeries will pay a lot for it. Yeah. But that is a really great way that you can provide your family with meat and eggs, even if you can't have chickens. I would seriously recommend looking into quail if you know you can't have chickens or if you just want chickens and quail.
Yeah, you could have both. Or, in our case, if we could have quail, we could have egg-laying chickens and then use the quail for meat.
Right, exactly. So, real quick, I want to talk about just a little bit of the brief differences with keeping meat birds versus laying hens. So, we have 6 females just for egg laying. With meat birds, you usually buy a ton of them and you keep them for a very short amount of time just to get them to that point of being able to process them. And they have different diets because they have different needs.
Yeah.
When you're raising meat birds, your goal is to put as much weight on them as fast as possible. And with hens, you want them to have a very rounded diet. You want them to have a lot of calcium because they're putting that calcium into their eggshells. Mm-hmm. And so you don't want to keep your meat birds with your egg layers because you don't want them eating the interchangeable, the food isn't interchangeable or anything like that. So you really need to be aware of what your goal is with chickens because you don't get the same kind of birds either.
No.
Because, there are some dual-purpose breeds, but if you want meat chickens, there are usually, specific breeds that you get for that. But also with naming, you don't want to name your meat chickens. That would make it that much harder to process them.
Yeah.
With ours, we are naming them. We have named all of them.
Yeah.
And that's because they're going to be our pets. We're going to eat the eggs that they give us, but we're not going to ever eat them. And a lot of people will talk about when you're, a lot of older people, your dad's mentioned it because your dad grew up on a farm, and my dad's mentioned it about how once they stop laying, usually those more old school farmers will get rid of their chickens. But to me, if they have given you years of eggs, food, and companionship, if they're your pets, let them have a peaceful retirement. At that point, just let them live on as a pet.
Yeah, just let them live. They're going to live, a more long life and just companionship and friendship and, just enjoyment and everything like that. And it's just, you want to give them, a very prosperous, fulfilling life.
Right, yeah. They're going to be my little garden buddies. No different than our dogs. Our dogs give us companionship. Our chickens give us eggs, And I understand with a lot of these old school farmers, getting rid of the chickens makes sense if you just see them as production.
Yeah.
But no, they're gonna be our pets, and it's really important, especially if you have children, to be right up front with them. If you are not planning on keeping your chickens around, with meat chickens, do not let your kids name them.
No.
That will just traumatize them.
Yeah, they will be very upset.
Once an animal has a name, that's it. You can't eat it.
No.
And at that point, once the chickens are in retirement age anyways, even if they are dual-purpose breeds, their meat would be so tough at that point, you wouldn't want to eat them. So that's what we're doing. Our chickens' names are Tiramisu or Susie. We've got Ruby, Pepper,
Noodles.
Karen, Noodles, and Skittles.
Yeah.
So those are the 6 chicken names that we have chosen. I don't know if any of them are going to change as they get older, but that's what they are right now. Yeah. Karen is probably going to definitely stay Karen.
Probably.
Because
if her personality stays the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Stoodles and Noodles, they're probably going to be the dominant of the 6, just because, I think those are the 2 Golden Lace Wyandottes, which
will end up being a few pounds
a little
heavier.
Bit heavier, and bigger birds than the other 4.
Right.
And I don't know. From my experience with them, they seem to not be too keen. They don't come up to me that much. So I think that's just a relationship thing that you have to build with them and let them know that you are, friend, you provide their food. And
right. I have been making a point to at least once a day put some food in the palm of my hand and just lay my hand down still on the bottom of their box, and they come and eat out of it, because I want them to know that my hand means food for them. So they feel safe with me. They will come up to me, because I really don't ever want to have that situation where I got to catch a chicken and it just runs away from me.
Or, when you have to chase a chicken down. And that's, I do that too. I mean, sometimes with food, sometimes without. I just stick my hand down there and let them come to me, and they'll jump on my hand and try to, jump on my arm or something like that. And, they might peck at my ring or peck on my fingers, but, baby chick pecks don't hurt.
Yeah, I have this freckle mole that they were trying to eat off of my wrist.
Yeah. And I was kind of nervous, kind of scared about actually holding baby chickens, because I've never held a baby chicken.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
Animal kind of like that. I don't even think I've ever held really a bird. So I didn't know what to expect there. And the first time I did, I liked it. It's different, and they're so lightweight.
You can barely feel them in your hands.
Yeah, I mean, now they're putting on a little bit of weight, so you can kind of feel their weight changing.
Yeah.
But the little pecks, they don't hurt. Maybe when they get older, their pecks might hurt a little bit, but
they're a lot of fun. They've been a lot of fun so far. Super low maintenance. Once or twice a day, we refill their water just so they have fresh water. Make sure their food is always filled, and that's it.
Yeah, we just let them be. We do our stuff throughout the day. The dogs are more high maintenance.
Oh yeah.
Because you have to take them out and feed them morning and night, and make sure they have water, and then you're taking them out 50 times a day.
Yeah.
Whereas the chickens, they have their box.
Right. But yeah, I have really enjoyed having them so far. I think this was an excellent decision, and it kind of just kicks off the spring.
Yeah. Perfect time.
Yeah, we are going to have a great season, and I do think that the spring is the best time to get chickens, because it's warming up. We didn't want to get them, say, in the dead of winter, and then it's okay, well, what do you do with these chickens? It's too cold to throw little, young chicks outside. So getting them at the right time is really important. I wanted to have a full summer with them before we had to go into
another Ohio winter.
Yeah, winter, taking care of animals, because this next winter I'm gonna have to be out there, rain or shine or snow or hail or sleet or whatever, because we get it all.
High winds.
Yeah, so I wanted to give them a nice long summer to establish themselves
and kind of build themselves up.
Right.
So that they could withstand our temperatures.
Yeah. So I think that's gonna wrap it up today. I just want to tell all of you out there that if you are thinking about getting chickens,
Go for it.
Yeah, it has been great so far. I am super glad that we did it. Figure out how you can, even if it's just 6 chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, we're thankful that you guys want to, come follow us and join us on our journey as we, explore this kind of new territory for us.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And, we'll be sure to post a lot of pictures. They're adorable.
They are.
And, already after 4 days, they're getting their adult feathers.
Yeah. Some of them started to get the feathers like on the second day. I was really surprised.
Yeah, like right on the tips of their wings. But yeah, lots of pictures. And
it'll be fun. It'll be a really fun summer.
Yeah.
And we should start getting eggs probably around the time at the end of summer, beginning of fall rolls around. So that'll be great.
Yeah.
And if you would like to ask any questions for us, you can find us in a plethora of places. Instagram, our website, just
email.
YouTube comments. So we would love to hear from you guys. Send us any questions. We'll be glad to answer them in the podcast. And other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic day.
And a fantastic week. And a happy Easter.
Yes, and a happy Easter. We will talk to you again soon. Bye.